Welcome back to Trading 360. I'm Nicole Petallides, live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, a winning week on Wall Street. It's time for the big three: three stocks, three charts, three trades. And Rick Ducat will take us through the charts. Here to take us through the trades, Joel Hawthorne, head trader, and he's with Retail Trader Magazine. Thank you so much for being with us. So wanted to hear, Joel, some of your thoughts, please, on the market.
I am very optimistic right now, Nicole. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to see you guys. I think the market right now, we know just last week or so, we were talking about the 50 basis point cut from the Fed. This week, it's been all about China and them injecting stimulus in their economy. That's the bigger narrative. I think that narrative, quite frankly, is even bigger than the 50-point basis cut from the Fed that we saw. So I think there's definitely a risk on sentiment for China, and that hasn't been for a while for their economy, for their stocks. So because of that, I'm very optimistic and I'm very bullish.
Understood. Okay, so feeling optimistic, feeling bullish. People like the moves they've seen, and you think there's potentially more upside. BABA has certainly been a winner this week through late yesterday. I did a double check, and it was up 18.5%. I didn't check it lately, but it's having a great week. And so where do you think it's headed?
Yes, it has. It's had a great week, I think. So 20% or so this week. So you definitely can see that there's been just a lot of action in the options market in a name like BABA and some of the other names, but definitely bullish there. 3-year high in BABA is 182.09. It's currently trading 108 and change. It's up over 3% today, up about $3.50 at the moment. I still think there's room to the upside there. However, I do want to wait for a bit of a pullback, if you would, a slight pullback. Maybe there's some profit taken at these levels as we broke above 100. So if we see maybe pulling back to 103 or so anywhere in the near future, that's where I would maybe add to my position. But I think we could easily see maybe 125-ish or so more to the upside here in the very near future here, as I think people are going to be piling into this trade. The China trade has been, and a name like BABA too, one of their most popular names traded in the U.S. This is a name that I think a lot of people are probably going to look to put risk on for some China stocks.
Yeah, adding gains today. I just checked. So now we're week to date up 23.2% on Alibaba. And by the way, JD, which we're going to talk about next, that's up 39% this week. Staying on BABA here, let's get to Rick Ducat to take a look at the charts, please.
The move up has been extreme in this stock here. And when we look at the chart here, we can see that there's a lot going on. The first thing that we would note is that Alibaba kind of hit a wall around 90 repeatedly. Like, we just really struggled to get above that point. We kind of drifted sideways for a long time, bouncing back and forth between like 66 or so to 90 here. But recently, we broke above that level with a vengeance here. We have really taken off from that 90 point. We're up like 20% from that point here. Actually, even a little bit more now because price has strengthened, recently here. But we can see even before that, the trend was accelerating to the upside. Our purple line, we had kind of a shallow slope. Our blue line got steeper. Our white line, very steep here. Just a reminder, the steeper a trend is, the less sustainable it is. I'm not saying it's going to reverse, today or anything like that. I'm just saying that, kind of statistically speaking, the more extreme a move is, the more difficult it is to kind of hang on to the gains. And when we look at this move here, we can see a couple things. First, RSI overbought, sign of strength, continuing to make new highs with price. Second, Nicole, you kind of posed the question earlier, how much higher can things go? That's what I want to try to look at here. Standard deviation channels can help. Our blue line, our linear regression line, was our line of best fit. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 standard deviations to the upside from that point. That tells us this is a very extreme, very strong move to the upside. It also gives us some boundaries to watch. Plus 5 channel now becomes support. 108.50 would be an area to watch. And then the +6 channel, we don't really say that very often on this show. We don't really get to a point where we're talking about this, 114.28. And real quick, I'm gonna cheat here. Normally we just do 3 stocks. I want to quickly show a 5-year chart here because there's a couple other levels to watch. It also speaks to how much this stock has suffered recently here. So we can see a repeated high point, our red line, 120, another high point on the way up, 138.70, a couple of additional potential areas to watch for resistance, Nicole.
Yeah, and I like that longer-term chart. It reminds us, what it was, but it's certainly been an exciting week. Joel, final thoughts on that one?
Love the charts from Rick. I agree. I think definitely there's a lot of optimism. And looking at just a normal distribution, when we start to look at those standard deviation extremes, we know that's really where the money is if you're able to hit those levels in a shorter period of time. So next week will be very exciting. And then obviously we know that we're coming into an election. So it'll be very exciting to see what happens with a lot of these names from out of China.
Okay. Staying on China for a moment, I mentioned JD, which is up almost 40% this week, JD.com. Tell us about this one.
Similar narrative, definitely. We're looking at it right now, trading about 39 and change, up over 4.5%. 3-year high is about 91.43. So definitely having room to go, a lot of room to the upside. And this is one that was kind of really trading around that 20-ish, $25, $24-ish range for a bit when we think about the past several weeks. So this breakout is definitely one that is needed. And I think, again, more optimism in some of these names. This one may be a little bit more attractive just because of its share price under $40 right now. But I'm a bull here and looking to use options to do so.
Okay. Tell us what you think, Rick, about this chart. Probably looking similar with the big move higher.
For sure. In the near term, it is pretty similar here. Both have had this explosive surge to the upside here. When we look at our chart, we can see that the shape was a little different leading into things, but kind of the general read was similar here because we had a shallow trend line going up. We started to accelerate. Then we really took off here. We took out these old highs right here near about 36 or so. And then we can see once again, the RSI overbought, making new relative highs along with price here. Everything behaving the way the bulls would want it to so far. Now we can also see our standard deviation channels once again here. Blue line, linear regression line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 standard deviations to the upside is where we are now. Not quite as extreme as our last chart, but still this is a very strong, unusual move. It's not very common to talk about standard deviations in this case being a +2 or -2 more than that. Usually stocks tend to stay within that type of range. So when it starts getting beyond that in either direction, I sit up and take notice here. If we were to keep moving to the upside here, +5 channel comes in at 42.25. Our +4 channel, 39.45, could be supportive. And then further to the downside, this old high point right here near 36. Once again, real quick, just looking at a 5-minute chart, kind of 5-year chart. Similar situation here. We crossed above those old highs and then some relevant high points to keep on your radar as if we continue to go to the upside would be 41.95, this high point, and then our pink line here, 48.96. So roughly 42.50 would be potential speed bumps to the upside.
Okay, thank you for that. Noted. Any final thoughts, Joel?
Sure. Definitely want to be a bull here in JD, but I'm going to use options to do so. So I'm going to sell the 38 put, simultaneously buying the 37 put. Both expire October 18th. Collecting a credit of about 36 cents. Break even is 37.64. Just looking to collect some premium over here roughly for the next 3 weeks or so and see what happens.
Okay. Last but not least, Expedia, which BTIG maintains a buy on Expedia, put a 175 target. Today it's at 149 and change. Where do you think it's headed?
I believe that we could possibly see 160s maybe by first quarter or so of the 2025. So I'm a bull here as well. I just think that right now it's very difficult with all the positive information that we've got over the past couple of weeks to look for reasons to be so pessimistic. So I'm a bull here, Nicole. Plus it's Friday, right? Let's be a bull, right?
Look, I mean, I like a trip and be a bull and get on an Expedia trip, but I'll tell you, there were a couple of calls just recently from TD Cowen and also another here. TD Cowen downgraded Expedia to a hold with a 150 target. It wasn't long ago that Cantor Fitzgerald put a 130 target. That's well below where it's trading right now at this 150 level, and has reiterated their neutral. So while BTIG and yourself, Joel, feeling positive, it's not certainly unanimous. Let's see what Rick Ducat says about the charts.
Another reason to be a bull in general, it's more fun. Not speaking specifically to this chart here, just, the bearish side is a lot tougher, I think, in many ways here. But nevertheless, looking at this chart, similar situation in some ways to our first chart in that we had a repeatedly tested ceiling here at our green line. We really struggled to get above that point near about 140 or so. 140 was the ceiling there. From there, though, we had once again acceleration of trend, gradually steepening, sharper slope to the upside, then another pretty strongly upward biased trend line here. Rising wedge kind of shape between our two blue dashed lines looked like the way things were playing out, but we are pushing above that level today here, pushing above some smaller volume nodes as well. The next one to be on the lookout is rather small here, but that would be the next point to watch to the upside for this stock. Now, RSI also had a triangular shape in the shorter term here. That's kind of a sign of shrinking volatility. You look for a breakout when that starts to happen here. Now we are very close to the overbought area. A push into that area would be regarded as more bullish. As it stands right now, a tiny bit of bearish divergence here because price is making new closing highs. RSI is on pace at this time for a lower high here. So something to consider. If we did keep moving upward, this candle is really important here because that's where we hit those 52-week highs, and that also was right before we had a large gap down here. So the gap is important, and those highs, 154.82, 160.05, those are the areas to watch to the upside. And then our old ceiling now becomes a supportive point near 140, lines up with our 21-day EMA as well.
Okay. Joel, you get the final word. Thank you for that.
I think that right now with, the S&P being at all-time highs, we're seeing that we're trading in that no man's land. I think the market, the bigger story here is bull. I think definitely being a bull, but being a stock picker's market, looking at undervalued names. I think Expedia has a ways to go to the upside. That's why I love this name. I'm looking for a slight pullback, maybe potentially somewhere near that 141, 140-ish level. If we can get there, great. I would definitely add on to the position and add more shares. But in the event we don't, I definitely think that 160s could be a target in the very near future. So looking for that opportunity. Again, I think that the bigger narrative is just risk on is what the market is telling me. So I'm a bull overall.
All right. Thank you both. Good to see you. Joel Hawthorne, Rick Ducat, thank you both very much for the big three today.